Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. I'm calling this meeting to order. This is the Laredo Urban Transportation Study, or the otherwise referred to as the Metropolitan Planning Organization Policy Committee. Today is November the 18th, 2019, and it's 1:46 p.m. And we're meeting here at City Council Chambers, 1110 Houston Street, Laredo, Texas. Roll call, please.
Sorry. Mayor Pete Sines.
Present.
Webb County Judge Dano E. Tijerina.
Present.
Councilmember Norma Nelly Vielma. Councilmember Dr. Marta Martinez. Councilmember George Alcal.
Present.
County Commissioner Jesse Gonzalez.
Present.
County Commissioner John Galo.
Present.
And Texas District Engineer David M. Salazar Jr. For the record, you do have a quorum, sir.
We do have a quorum. We have 5 people present. That constitutes a quorum. So moving forward, we have citizens' comments. You're asked to fill out a card. I see no cards filled out. I presume no one in the audience is wishing to speak. And if that's the case, I don't see anyone approaching the dais or the lectern, so there's no one wanting to speak. So moving on to item 4. And that's item 4A, that's approval of the minutes for the meeting held October 21st, 2019, which is the committee. Is there a motion that we approve?
So moved.
There's a motion, a second discussion. Excuse me, none heard. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None heard. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item B, receive public testimony and adopt resolution number MPO 2019-08. Amending the fiscal year 2020 Unified Planning Work Program, otherwise known as UPWP, as follows. And there's 2 items. Yes, sir.
Sir. Is there any way that you could help us with what you have? I don't know how to do it.
Computers?
There they are.
Yeah, just
Very good. I got you.
switch. Yeah,
Just turn it
there's a
the
little
other way.
switch here at the bottom. Yeah. Okay, we got it.
There you go. Now we can follow you a little bit better. Very good. Thank you.
Okay, I would call upon our MPO director, Mr. Snipe.
Yes, sir. As it reads, we're updating our newly adopted work plan that identifies the funds that were received for planning activities, the planning grant that we received from the federal government, and how we're going to spend that money in terms of plans that we're going to do or staffing needs. So one of the updates is we're on item number 1, we're changing the certification review. We will be able to do that in-house and with the help of the Federal Highway Administration and TxDOT. So we're going to be able to save about $100,000 from what was originally budgeted the last time we did it. And on the second item, we're going to update or add task 5.3, and that's for a comprehensive operational analysis. The transit had asked us to include some funds or set aside $250,000 to help them with a comprehensive operational analysis that will allow them to look at their operations, maybe make some changes to increase efficiency, and that'll.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, yes, sir.
But don't they have to do that to be in compliance with the FTA's mandates?
They have a 5-year plan that they're required to do, and in a future, that was what initially they wanted to do, was to do their 5-year plan. But since they had just done that 3 years ago, what they really want to do, we're hoping to do some planning studies that would help them work out some of their programming and their operations. So what we will do when we need a 5-year, which may be as soon as the process starting next year, we'll budget for that as well. But we're including this for some operations, looking at their operations that will help them additionally. So
this is specific to anything that's ADA related.
There you go.
As I interpret this agenda item.
It's gonna do the fixed route and the ADA demand service routes, both.
Okay.
Okay, going back to the first item, briefly, we were having just a thought here on where we're heading as far as the directorship, you and who hires you. I think we're getting to the point that the MPO could be an independent, I guess, entity or organization, but ended by itself. Do you have any thoughts or plans along those lines, Mr. Snyder?
I do, yes, I think, well, one, it's not specifically on the agenda, so we probably be
Just for the
careful not to-
record, Councilmember Nelly Dilma is not with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Hello, Councilmember Villalba. We should be careful not to speak too much to this item since it hasn't been noticed, but we've talked about this before with different policy members. And I think we've matured to the point where we necessitate more staff, which is what we're doing. One of the staff we're bringing in is going to be a division manager. And that will open up an opportunity maybe in the future in 3-5 years where that person could be promoted into that would be an option, or you could go out for a search. I think I can just tell you from my involvement as the planning director and also the MPO director that is a lot to direct both of those activities. And being the #1 inland port, there's a lot of infrastructure and a lot of attention on the transportation here that could definitely be benefited from having a director whose full-time focus, instead of half of their focus, is on the MPO.
Currently, what percentage of your budget operational budget is covered by the city and versus?
Roughly 50%, which reflects right now about 50% of my time. As we bring in an MPO division manager, which is what is in our work plan, what we've discussed previously.
So that is a part of the work plan that we have already, it's set
Currently,
up? Yeah.
yes, currently we're looking to hire an MPO division manager. Right now, the planning department, it used to be just flat, but I'm organizing into 3 distinct divisions where we'll have current planning, which is the permit processing, long-range planning, which is looking at the future plans, and then the MPO division. And right now, we just have one staff person in the MPO. In the future, we're going to have an active transportation planner, a transportation planner, and a GIS planner, and an MPO division manager. That's already been approved by y'all as part of the work plan. And that structure may allow me as the director to adjust it, how much time I'm focusing on MPO, because we'll have an MPO division manager that will be able to do that. Or it may stay about 50-50 where it's at.
Okay.
But to speak to your question, that's something we're thinking about, and as the MPO matures, I think it would be worth having that discussion, maybe in a workshop kind of setting where we can talk about what does that structure look like to the policy committee members. What would you like to see? What kind of activities would you like to see? Or where do you feel we're not putting enough attention? And then we can then have that discussion of if you think it's time for the MPO to be a more independent structure.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I mean, it would seem as if though we have matured, I would hope, and my institutional knowledge is kind of limited, but, maybe Mr. Galo might be able to shed some light on this, but I don't know what our numbers were staffing-wise for the MPO, kind of like pre-NAFTA or contemporaneously with NAFTA, but it seems in my limited institutional memory that we've kind of been tracking just a handful of y'all, if any? I mean, how many MPO employees do we have?
There's always just been one.
Just one. I
The
mean, so
director, it's always been the director
I mean,
and one planner.
I'm not an HR specialist or anything, but, it seems as though, given our status as a port, that, and given our very pressing transportation issues, that, and with all respect to you, I mean, I think you worked miracles, being just one, but it seems like it's time now, that we, follow, Mr. Kirby Snideman's directives, which is let's get all hands on deck, talented hands on deck, so that we can have some long-term meaningful planning and not just be, trying to catch up. So for whatever it's worth, I think we're tracking in the right direction, and we need to build on that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, please.
The only thing I know, we don't have an agenda to be speaking about this agenda item, but I agree with every single one of you all. The only thing that I will say is that we just have to be cognizant of the fact that the MPO is getting larger in the valley. They've all merged, as we all know. And so I think we need to stay right there with them, and if we're gonna.
And I think there's an agenda item that lends itself toward that today?
Yes, some discussion about,
Then I'll
it's
bring that
more
up
for
a
the-
little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll bring it up a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Yes, go ahead.
I really think we need to be a little more aggressive than what we pointed out. You know, we've allocated this money to the city for allow them to do their kind of planning, but I think this needs to be the MPO planning. And I know there was a discussion last time, and quite a bit of discussion a couple of meetings ago about when we allocated the monies, about the structure and how it, you know, under whose umbrella, how it would be easier to make sure these people get the benefits and all those type of things. And I really think we need to get our MPO director and our staff, you know, separate and apart. So.
Do you want to put agenda, do you want to sooner, your
Yeah,
timeline is.
3
when,
years is too long for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it needs to be done this
That's
year.
what I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it all boils down to how much money do we have and how much would the city still contribute. So we need a,
Well, we
The
just
structure.
allocated $500,000. You know, we can either
Well,
put that
through the
back or put that into
through the state.
So the
anyway,
state gives us $500,000 annually.
For staff.
Yeah, let me ask you this, I think we're going beyond, shall we put an agenda item next time and then we can discuss it,
Yes.
budget-wise and then the pros and cons or something? Okay.
Yes, we'll do that, and I'll just, my final comment on that will be, that's definitely the direction we, as I've come here, my assessment has been, yes, let's bring more staff on board so that we can do that kind of proactive planning for the MPO. We certainly merit it. As we've grown, we've stayed just one staff member, so it makes sense that we have additional staff. TxDOT and the Federal Highway Administration agreed with that assessment, so they've been very encouraging of what I'm trying to do to add more staff. The only thing I would caution is separating too quickly. There are some things we've been doing, like for instance, if it was a separate organization, it would have to start paying rent. Right now, the city just gives that, so that's an expense we don't have to worry about.
We
There's
can
some
figure all that
organiza-
out, don't worry.
We can definitely figure it out. And then as well, would y'all be responsible for, obviously, for hiring that new director? Whereas now if we hire in a division manager, that's something staff can take care of, and then there's some structure there that at some point in the future you can promote, or you can, it's easier, once the structure is established, to then get that director in. But again, I'll leave it up to you, we'll put it on
Well,
the
we keep
agenda.
having the conversation about the structure, but whose structure? Is it city structure, your structure that you're having over there, or is it the MPO structure? And that's where I think there's a little bit of disconnect, because I know you have a plan there, but I think that plan's more city oriented.
Let me throw another.
And I want to make sure this is MPO oriented.
Let me throw another point in there too. The RMA, they're looking for a place as well. So as we discuss this, maybe the RMA needs to be involved here too, because, they're also an integral part of what occurs here in the county, in relation to the road, infrastructure projects that we have.
The county has offered them from the very beginning. We've offered them
Okay.
access, we've offered them, again, personnel, we've offered them to do some of the things for them. And
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Let's go ahead.
I would just add to the conversation, I think we're all kind of hitting on generally the same point, which is that, historically, the MPO has been somewhat siloed, and the city's been siloed, and the county has been siloed, and I think what we're talking about here is tearing down those silos and having, this, the MPO being that hub, and then the city is a spoke, the county being the spoke, the RMA being a spoke, and so anything that can further the cohesiveness of transportation planning through the MPO is what I think all of us are hoping to find that HR algorithm to.
And I think we need
Plug all
to be
that in.
prepared. The bottom line is money. So the county pitches in, the RMA pitches in, the city pitches in, and then the
That's
state.
not the problem. We get more than $500,000 a year. We just allocated 1 million, what, 1.2?
Roughly, yes.
Yeah.
But that-
So money's not the problem. We get it already.
Okay,
The
so
problem is we've been
just
pushing it.
organize it.
Well, we've been pushing it to the city.
Okay, and that's a fair assessment. So I guess next time, be prepared to visit on all these points.
Yes, sir.
And you invite the RMA too, because we may need to hear from them too and see what their thoughts are. Do we need let's
Yes,
see,
a motion for the,
the public testimony, so I guess it's a public hearing, so we open the public hearing?
Motion to open public hearing?
Second.
There's a motion to open and second the discussion. None had. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Not heard. Motion carries unanimously. So this is for both 1 and 2, is that correct?
Yes, we're gonna receive public testimony, but we also need to adopt the resolution adopting the changes to the UPWP.
So this won't stay open?
No, it only requires,
Yeah.
public participation procedures on this type of item only require 1 meeting. So,
Okay, since it is a public hearing, anyone wishing to speak for or against?
Hold on.
This is the city's.
Yeah.
The city of Laredo is.
So your agenda loaded up.
Somebody just put it all over the.
Well,
We just talked about not just following the city's agenda, and there it is.
That's true. I was like, this is too long.
Yeah, no, somebody actually.
Yeah, where's IT?
IT was the one that was messing with it. Yeah, at first,
Yeah, we apologize.
somebody, I thought my mouse was just running around everywhere.
No, we've been hacked again.
They got rid of our MPO agenda. They put the one for tonight.
It's not there.
Yeah, I think it went down each one of us.
Yeah.
Did that just happen?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
just,
as we're
They
talking.
were remotely connected.
Okay, yeah. I think IT, I think they kind of messed with it.
we don't have extra copies up there right now.
Vanessa, do you wanna check with IT? Let's see if I can get these back up.
So anyway, it's a public hearing, maybe I can just take,
Knew we shouldn't have shared.
it should be online. Yeah, it should be online.
It closed all the windows because it was open on a separate window.
Oh my God, está bien, bien bajito.
Lo ladder.
Let's see, department. Planning.
I just called IT, she was making changes, but I let her know that you are going to be here.
Thank you, Richard.
thank you, Richard.
You can go home.
Holy
now.
cow, it takes forever.
I was thinking too long.
Just working. Okay, here we
I
go.
wish I could tell you, but
Agenda.
you're already there.
City of Laredo, and then-
Should have the packet right here, 11/18.
Karen?
There we go.
Yeah, go to departments.
Está el paquete.
How'd you get to it?
Okay, you go to the MPO website or go to, if you want to go through the city's website, or you want me to do it? Want me to do it for you? There.
Departments and then planning?
We go to departments?
You're slow.
Yeah, go to departments,
Departments and then
then
planning.
planning, and then.
Planning and zoning?
Really, mother, it's very slow.
And it's,
Planning and zoning?
Recess?
our agendas.
I'm sorry?
Go to departments, we could get planning.
It's up to you.
No, you know, obviously, we're taking a recess here, 2 minutes until we get the
Technical
proper
difficulties.
agenda on the screen.
Okay, then you go to planning,
What, departments or what?
go to department, planning and zoning.
Okay, we got it.
Yours are so slow.
It's the Chinese.
And I've got this here.
Interesting article in The Economist.
Okay, and then you go to the Laredo Urban Transportation Study. And then you go to agendas.
Okay, there was loads.
I know it takes forever. And then here's the packet.
This one, thank you.
There you go.
What was there?
Thank you.
Agendas.
I'm sorry, go to, right there, did you click on packet? Perfect.
Hey, Daddy didn't read no fool. So where are we at now? I forgot.
And then he takes it away.
Okay, I think we're just about there.
I think so, thank you.
Thank you much. I'm ready.
You know what, yeah. Okay, so we're, sorry for the delay here. We had
Go and see.
a computer glitch, now we're back on. So we're 4B, item 1 and 2, and And we have it's a public hearing, and we need to move on that. I think there was a motion, a second.
Yeah, we need the adoption of the resolution.
Okay, but I think we need to move to the public hearing. Did we vote on that?
You
Jenny,
haven't voted on it yet, no?
No, yeah.
To open the
Okay, all
vote.
those in favor of public hearing? Say
Aye.
Any against? Not heard, motion carries. Again, it's a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against? Mr. McGee, you want to speak? Okay. For or against? For or against? No one is approaching the lectern, so what is the motion then? To adopt?
Yes.
Close the public hearing and adopt both items as written.
Second.
Adopt resolution number MPO 2019-08. No.
Okay. There's a motion,
As
second by
described.
Judge Tijerina. Discussion, none heard, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? None heard, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We're on C now. Receive public testimony and approve a motion authorizing the award and execution of a contract in the amount of $24,480.
Move to open up public hearing.
There's a motion, a second, to open up a public hearing. Discussion, none heard, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Not heard, motion carries. It's a public hearing. And again, it's regarding the execution of a contract in the amount of $24,480 with Nelson NYG AARD for the development of the active transportation plan. Public hearing, anyone wishing to speak for or against? For or against? For or against? None heard. Is there a motion to
Close the public hearing
and
and
adopt?
adopt the contract.
And approve, I guess.
Approve the contract.
Yeah, and approve the contract, and seconded by, John Galen made the motion, and seconded by Councilman Olgan. Discussion, not heard, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against, not heard, motion carries unanimously, thank you. Item D, discussion with possible action on the future possible redesignation of H-35 South of Victoria Street, also known as the 4-block area, and rerouting of US 83. Dr. Martha Martinez was a sponsor of this item. Obviously, he's not here. Are we prepared to visit on this, or should we table until the next?
Motion to table.
Do we have a status on that, or?
Second.
To table?
Yeah.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Galo and seconded by Jessica Gonzalez to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Not heard, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. E, discussion of possible action on the River Road project. Mr. Joe Medina's not here, and he's really the one been kind of spearheading this. But also, Councilmember Algen, it's your district. Do you have any?
I don't think there's anything new to update on, have you heard anything?
Right. We did, that one landowner, the family is in favor of doing that, but they wanted a meeting, and we've been asking for a meeting, and I think that's where we're at now. So we'll see. Maybe you and I and Mr. Medina for the next meeting can get together and see if we can make this meeting happen with the family.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, discussion with possible action on the Chad Ruthinger. Mr. Luis Perez Garcia, County Engineer.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairperson, Luis Perez Garcia, Webb County Engineer. Since our last update at this last meeting in October, we've had a stakeholders meeting with the parties involved. The contractor, the engineering contractor was there, Webb County personnel, City of Laredo personnel, and the property owners, giving an update as to what the comments were back when we got the 60% submittal done. We expect to have the 90% submittal complete by the end of November. The 100% submittal, based on some of the comments that we received back, be ready by the end of December. The TxDOT Environmental Division in Austin is already reviewing some of the paperwork that we have submitted. And they've been asking questions, and we've been responding to some of their inquiries.
And this is on the entire route, correct?
On the entire
Chad
route,
and
yes,
Ruthinger.
sir. We're specifically concentrating on the Ruthinger, but the document that's proposed is both the HR and the Ruthinger.
So for the
sections of
listening
road.
public, it's from Mines Road all the way to 35?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Now, the next phase is the PS&E.
Hold on, Mr. Chair, May I inquire? What are some of the comments?
There's been a property swap where the Northwest Web Development Corporation was dissatisfied with some of the property that they were going to have to give up, given that it hadn't been discussed previously. The HR folks came up with an agreeable solution to do a land swap and give them back some of the property that was being given up to right-of-way. That has been negotiated and discussed, and that's some of the changes that we were waiting on to be able to provide the final design. And it has more to do with the contouring and the site distance, the location underneath the electrical utility easement, and trying to minimize or eliminate the movement of a particular pole that holds up the high-tension wires that cross overhead. Those are the discussions that are being had at this point.
Any effect on the alignment?
Minimal changes, one way or the other, but everything is still exactly.
But we're not crossing any more creeks than we
No,
were, like.
no, sir. Everything there remains the same. It's a movement of an alignment, maybe 30 or 40 feet in either direction, to be able to accommodate the entrances and exits coming off of the roadway as designed.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
But the right-of-ways haven't been granted yet. Have they been actually deeded or granted to,
I believe they've got an agreement in principle to go forward. I'm not positive that it's been finalized at this point.
okay, who's responsible for that?
The contractor's working with both of the property owners to come up with the
At your
document.
next report, could you give us a
Yes,
status
sir, I will
report?
give
Because
you an
that's key.
update on where specifically we
Yeah,
are
we need to have those
regarding right-of-way.
in place before anything else.
We're talking about just the right of way that was in question, right?
Correct.
The rest of the right of way has been
The
done.
rest of the right-of-way is finalized and we're ready to go forward.
Okay, who owns that right-of-way?
I believe the right-of-way in question right now has been swapped over from.
Is it the county or the city? or-
No, it's the private property owners that are giving up the
No,
road.
to who, who's the grantee?
City of Laredo.
I would imagine it's City of Laredo on the roofing, on the HR side, and maybe County of Webb on the
Could you
roofing.
check on
side.
that too,
I would
please?
also
So
ownership.
get legal to explain that
The
to
only
us.
thing that we have owners is Ruthinger, so they've already designated.
But I
And
don't
you
know
all
if
have
we're signing any
a
documents.
right-of-way agreement? Okay, anyway, if you can clarify that for
Yes,
us.
sir,
then.
I certainly will. And with the last point that I was bringing up is that we probably should enter the next phase, which is going out for requests for qualification statements for the PS&E phase of the project. I don't see any reason why we can't start getting that taken care of and hopefully maybe having someone on board prior to year end. The purchasing folks always give me a little bit different timeline. And it may not be a good idea to try to do anything before year end, but certainly by January, have someone already designated and.
And that's for construction,
Going forward, no, that's for the design of the PSN.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McGee. You have a comment? No?
He's getting up, you know?
He says, gotta go.
Okay, so then do we need that for the next agenda item? Is that what you're suggesting for the next agenda on the MPO to meet to,
Yeah, clarify all these points.
I'm almost positive that we have agreed that Webb County would go forward. That's the step I haven't
Go forward with.
been verified. Webb County go forward with handling the request for
oh,
qualifications.
y'all handle that?
Webb County versus the city of
Okay.
Laredo do it. I think that's the agreement that our general counsel came to, but I haven't verified if that's correct. And I will update you on that also.
Yeah, whichever is quicker and proper, obviously. Yeah.
And, yeah, because we tried quicker last time. And
We're still on the timeline.
No, I'm not talking about yours. I'm talking about the Carlos Villarreal, Tomas Rodriguez. Let's do a water line with a road adjacent to it and get funny with the language and so quicker is not better.
Quicker sometimes is longer.
Lo barato sale caro.
Yes.
Okay, anyway.
I will come back to you with what you've requested regarding the right-of-way and the ownership. and a little bit better description as to where and how soon we intend to go out for statement of qualifications
Okay,
for
right.
qualified.
And then who will,
And who will go forward.
yeah, the manager of.
Yes, sir.
the-
We are working very closely with the city of Laredo right now, asking for geotechnical information. And we're working with TxDOT right now to get traffic studies that have also been requested. So we're moving forward.
Good, thank you. Any
Chairman,
other
can I-
question or comment?
Yeah, I would just ask for a map. If it's not resolved by the next agenda, if we don't have the right of way in hand, can we have a map showing the,
Questionable area?
yeah, the question?
Yes, sir, by all
Bringing
means.
question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on. Thank you so much, Mr. Luis Perez Garcia. F, a discussion with possible action on the name change from Laredo Urban Transportation Study, LUTS, to Laredo Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, LAMPO. It says, note, a name change will require a future MPO bylaws amendment.
Man?
Yes.
I do have a problem with this. The only thing as it's written right now, my vote's gonna be for no. But if we change it to Laredo/Webb Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, I don't have a problem with that. But I think Webb needs to be in there.
Okay, and, yeah, any other
You're
comments?
gonna do a vote, that's just my.
No, and I appreciate your candor. And, yeah, do you have any question? I personally don't have an issue with that. Is there legally something or whatever that may impede?
I
that?
think we have wide discretion on what we name it. A lot of MPOs don't use the name, they use another designation. For instance, San Antonio's is Alamo Area MPO. The main reason is to get away from the transportation study terminology, which almost no one uses anymore, and use the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization designation, which is what we always do. So we're reiterating that in any reports or studies we do, we'll say the Laredo Urban Transportation Study, which is the Metropolitan Planning Organization, because that's the common designation now for the type of organization we are. So a name change will make it easier for us without that reiteration. It's also part of our desire to update our website, bring in new staff, kind of bring us up to date with the size of our region. Now, in terms of why we didn't have Webb in there, Laredo, it's for the Laredo Urban Transportation Study doesn't say anything about Webb County currently. It doesn't include all of Webb County. It includes basically the ETJ of Laredo. We could very well throw a Webb in there. It's just LAMPO was kind of a nice acronym. If we put the W in there, but that's not a big concern, as it doesn't make it sound nice. But we can definitely, if y'all decide, the biggest thing is we just want to get the MPO in there so that we don't have to reiterate all the time that that's what we are. The transportation study is the MPO.
It's like
It's
us,
just there.
like we're the Laredo Webb County Bar Association, so we have to we don't have a sexy acronym. We're the L.
It's a long.
LAMPO kind of rolls off the,
WA.
and we're adding area where
Well,
before.
let's just leave it Webb County Metropolitan Plan in there.
Well, it's not, it doesn't include the entire county. It's
It does
just,
have
it's
to.
basically the ETJ, the extraterritorial
Can we-
jurisdiction of Laredo.
Can we include the
Oh,
entire
that's
Webb
right.
County now at this point, since we're making amendment changes?
With that, we'd have to check with the Federal Highway Administration. We're not suggesting to change the boundaries. We're just suggesting changing
That's not what the question was, huh?
changing the boundaries. Oh, I thought that's what you
No,
asked.
and that's a question, changing boundaries.
Oh, changing boundary, I thought you said
To
change the
include
name.
all of Webb County,
I think we
because
should.
we are growing.
We could check with the Federal Highway Administration if that's something that we can do, extend our boundaries to include all of it.
And since we're talking
Maybe we
boundaries,
will.
maybe I can bring in that conversation. I was approached recently by the mayor of Pharr, Texas, who's a member of the MPO, very vocal as well. And he was suggesting that maybe we consider, evaluate to see if we could merge the valley with the Webb County area in terms of attracting more money by way of population. And he sent me the agreement that they had signed, each of the counties there within that valley MPO. And there's a whole number of them there.
Because by ourselves, we're not going to be able to compete
Yeah, the
with
key is how do we
metros.
divvy up the monies when they come?
Well, I'm sure there's a proportional formula that can be, derived so
I think
that
it's by population.
it's equitable based on population. It would be great if we could blend into the mix a formula that's also based on commercial vehicles, because that translates directly into wear and tear on current infrastructure and projected growth as it relates to current trends in commercial transportation. But, I mean, I think it's something that warrants exploring because, you know, Laredo, Webb County right now is an island unto itself, and well, no man is an island to
And
quote.
American, you know,
the
he
phone.
said that at whatever time he can come and present to us,
Mhm.
you know, the pros that he sees, you know, the.
Can we get that on the next
positive
agenda?
points.
Yeah, we can have a conversation with them about doing, how it would be possible. The Federal Highway Administration definitely has a formula. Us combining with the valley, we're too far apart, our systems are too far apart for that to be a possibility. But is it a possibility for us to incorporate the other counties around us? Again, they have a formula that is basically based on population and proximity. And so how much would we be benefited by picking up very rural places next to us?
Could they actually
Not
contribute
much.
to this independent?
But I can
MPO?
check with them. The latest thing I heard, that the closest area next to us that's now being designated possibly is Del Rio, and now they're, you know, several hours away. But maybe we could extend that boundary, and what would that look
Well,
like?
McAllen's closer than Del Rio.
Well, my point is to say that they're possibly getting designated themselves, but because they're so far away, they'll be their own MPO. Same with the valley, far enough away that we can't combine that as one large area because there's a distance component to the way the Federal Highway Administration.
Well, let me ask you this, since it's a big topic and it's gonna take
we definitely
some more
will.
discussion. Yeah, we can put it for the next agenda item, but what does it do to this agenda item, the one currently before us? Shall we table until we decide that, or shall we go on this first and?
And can we also get some examples of other name designations to see what a combination will make sense? Please.
Because to be fair, it's not the, and with all respect to the county, but the area is not the whole county, it's the metropolitan area as federally designated, is that correct?
But if we change the boundaries, it would be all in Webb County.
Yeah, but that sounds like that's some legislative action.
So our current designation right now, Vanessa, when do we hit our population-wise, our next designation?
That's it. Population-wise, we're a transportation management area.
So there's
That's
nothing
it.
larger.
Once we hit 200,000, that was it.
So we don't gain any benefit in terms of our designation by picking up any population. Now, if we pick up significant population, even though our designation doesn't change, it does change our formula of how many dollars we get. But there's not, you know, of Webb County, the way the boundaries are drawn for the Laredo Urban Transportation Center, we're picking up like 98%, 95, 98% of the population. So
Of the county.
Of the county. So we won't get very much by adding a few thousand people and growing our boundaries.
And that was the whole reason it doesn't have the whole county,
Yeah.
because it's unpopulated.
Mr. Garcia? Tecla? Mr. Economic Development Director for the City of Lorraine.
Yes, Tecla Garcia, Director of Economic Development for the City of Laredo. Judge, Mayor, Commissioners, Council. The topic that was being discussed just before about the merger in the Valley, just to give you a little bit of background, just food for thought for next week, I thought I was compelled to come up here and say something. I was involved with that for about a dozen years because that's what it took. And to Kirby's point regarding the population gain, and I'm not sure of all the federal requisites and what you gain and when and what thresholds you need to hit. I will say that when they merged the MPOs in the Valley, there was significant population gain from Hidalgo to taking in Cameron and this Harlingen, San Benito, and then Brownsville MPOs. I mean, that was combining 800 and whatever thousand Hidalgo had at the time with about 400,000 in Cameron. So when you merged them, that was significant, and that's what put them over the threshold of being one of the state's largest metro areas. So,
Tecla, if I can, to point
yes.
out, there wasn't a net gain in funding. There was just maybe a decrease in duplication of responsibility. So they didn't, because they merged their boundaries, they didn't they didn't get any additional funding because their designation didn't
But they
change.
may have
the
hit
formula.
some thresholds that they couldn't reach otherwise, like 1 million, just like, I know that we have a lot of laws, and when we get to 350, some of the rules change, so the population. Anyway, I'll make a motion to change it to Laredo Webb County Planning Organization or whatever.
Oh, there's a motion, and there's a second by Commissioner Gonzalez. A discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Just discussion real quick.
Discussion.
Is there any legal impact to,
Well, we're not changing it today. We're just directing staff to take the necessary steps with amending our bylaws so that we can make the name change, because that's a process we have to bring back to you. So first, just wanted to get
oh,
direction from y'all that that's something you want to do, and then we'll amend the bylaws appropriately.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for Laredo Webb.
Further, I have a question, if I may, Mayor. If we're trying to bring in other cities, let's say, for example, in our area, I think to the west will be better because we have the Columbia Bridge, which is also part of our jurisdiction. And so if closer to it is Eagle Pass or Del Rio or whatever, adding up those names those numbers of population, I don't know if we should wait until we have a decision whether or not we're going to add more cities to it before we rename it. So I would just throw that out for
I would
consideration.
imagine that's gonna take quite some time,
Yeah,
like
it's,
12 years.
the Columbia
Maybe.
Bridge area is not part of the city,
It is part of the city,
yeah, so
already included.
City income.
yeah.
but I guess to my colleague's point, and we've been talking about this in previous conversations with, who's who in economic development in Laredo, which is that, historically, we haven't been looking at ourselves regionally. Like, why aren't we, seeing Zapata, Encinal, Cotula, Eagle Pass, Oilton, Mirando, like, why aren't we really embracing the fact that we're this, regional hub for South Texas? And how do we unsilo ourselves from them and bring that collective political will into the fold? Because, there is strength in numbers with that regard. I don't
They
know
don't
if I'm-
offer any
South Texas.
population, that's why.
No, I realize that, but they do have elected representatives who've got their networks and spheres of influence. They may be minimal, but they may be, you never know, they may be significant. So a lot of times it's those, those little,
And it might be that regional, that's South Texas. the
But
name
again-
it
right.
encompasses.
Because the valley's very much defined itself. And people, how many times when we go out and about, oh, from Laredo, so you're down in the valley? Like, no, we're not down in the valley. And we really haven't, we really haven't made that definition of, we are, the greater South Texas.
But going back to the mayor's comments, I think what you go to the problem is that you start picking up Zapata or whoever, the smaller cities, Cotula, then you start saying, all right, now we gotta start divvying the money up with those smaller populations who may have just as big as infrastructure needs as we do. I know the city of Cotula is doing a big bypass there going around, so, we don't wanna share either, so. We got enough issues here, so I think the name is gonna be sufficient for now. If we merge or do anything, which, like I said, I don't think it's gonna happen this year or next year.
No.
So we'll move on, and if we wanna merge, we merge, and we'll change the name.
Or, I guess my point isn't necessarily for the MPO purposes. I was just mentioning that in the context of the conversations we've been having, with the Laredo Development Foundation and Dr. Solis, as far as like, hey, like, we really need to, broaden our horizon. No, I'm with you
Yeah,
100%.
I'm talking about MPO.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess we can change it down the road if it merits, some more changing.
So Laredo Webb County Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. That was my motion.
Okay, did you get that? Yeah, all those in favor say aye?
Well, can I,
Yeah, any opposed? None?
was it
It carries unanimously. Laredo,
Laredo Webb County MPO or
Laredo Webb County Area Metropolitan Planning.
so that, the Laredo Webb County area sounds like
redundant.
the county area beyond the county.
Would it be suffice
That's the
Laredo
name
Webb?
that just passed.
Okay. County area, okay. Okay, moving on to item
From a wordsmith standpoint, though, I
Yeah,
tend
just
to
go past.
agree with
Look for the
Mr.
acronym.
Snyder.
Put the gavel
Yeah.
down.
We can be here all day, so.
Okay, so G, let's see, discussion with possible action on the organization and number of policy committee member appointments. A discussion of vacant text dot appointment to be eliminated or transferred to the city or Webb County. A discussion of a 9-member committee versus a 5-member committee with alternates. Note a change in member appointments will require future MPO bylaws, amendment, excuse me. So again, we have 2 text dot representatives. One remains, they want to give up that other text dot representative. I know the judge had thought maybe the sheriff, I was visiting with some other people. We might want to consider the RMA. The RMA is also very much part of the county and much more part of the
They're
county.
already a separate autonomous, so.
It's not uncommon for RMAs to be
ROA.
part of, on the policy committee. In fact, example you
For
just.
policy maybe, but not, I wouldn't think you're gonna have somebody on an autonomous thing that's gonna be voting.
A good example of what you
No.
just brought up from the Valley, they have several RMA members sitting on the,
The RMAs are very active.
I was also told that the sheriffs, there's some sheriffs on different MPOs, is that correct?
that is less common. I'm not aware of where there's a sheriff.
And I'm not aware of that too, Judge.
The RMA will have
I'm sure.
Pero
we'll
there
look and
could
see.
be,
Yeah,
Have more
I guess
knowledge of
yeah,
transportation.
the question being who has more expertise, for, those key points. I don't know.
Well, can I, to this,
That
agenda,
being said, I mean, I didn't have much expertise when the mayor appointed me to jump on this thing, either, but.
Well, let me just
You're
bring
well
up the
versed.
example, the prior example with the past commissioner, from the RMA was always volunteering our money. So you want that person up here voting and volunteering our money?
Perhaps
No,
someone
but you will
not
have
quite like that, but
but you will have
different, but with
representation.
Well, I'm saying-
expertise.
So,
can I provide a little bit of context for this item? So we had talked previously about sometimes the challenges to making quorum. And we wanted to give you some options at what we could do for that. And we combined that with, as well, talking to TxDOT and them realizing that they have the district position and the administrative position, and they're okay with giving one of those up because they don't, because that's a combined position for them. And so that opens up an opportunity to discuss both. One, this open vacant position that we can transfer to a city position, a county position, or another organization such as the RMA. That also gives us an opportunity to talk about just the structure of this policy committee, if you like that it's a 9-member committee, or a possibility of moving to a smaller number policy committee with alternates that you could send in as a designee for you. Those are all things we discuss at the technical committee level to be able to
Make
work it out.
quorum.
Yeah, to bring you some suggestions, and same as we did with the name change as well. We talked about it, discussed it with the technical.
I think my first instinct would be to go to a 5-member committee, but I don't think that's gonna pass. Then the next one would be, then what is the division of the MPO? You have 4 council from the city, including the mayor, and then you have 3 already from the county, so we're lopsided there. And then you have 1 district, TxDOT district. So it's something that, I mean, me preferably, I would like to go to a 5-member committee. I think, for sure, I think we get a quorum now, with 3 people in there. But I don't know if it's gonna pass or not. It's up to this board, to be quite honest with
Judge,
you.
I think if we put Mr. Flores, or economic development, I mean, that would be somebody.
Keeping it,
Wherever you guys,
but keeping it with 9, or?
Keep it at 9, yeah. But I mean, I would say put the city, but then you're gonna be 6-3, I mean, 6.
So TxDOT's given up 1 spot.
Correct.
Yes.
And then, are there any more spots available beyond that?
You can make
If
it
we
a-
want, either change would require us to amend the bylaws. So this, again, is direction you're giving us to then make a change to the bylaws and bring it for you for an actual change.
Who are the other positions, available to, but that are never here?
There's only 1 position right now that's
Yeah,
vacant.
Melissa holding
And
that position.
that's TxDOT's administrator position. They have their David's position, and then they have an administrator position which is vacant, text dot administrator in the bylaws.
Unless you wanna
as
go after
stated.
the.
So they're fine
economic
with,
development or
with relinquishing that position
That
and
would
us
be
changing it to something else. They're fine with just being represented by one position on a
Yeah,
nine-member
I
board.
know, that's what I'm saying, that's.
And so, while we're making that change, we
Julia,
can also look at the total number. And if we move to a five-member, it'd be, for instance, 2 county, 2 city, 1 district, 1 text dot.
okay.
Or if we kept it 9,
Yeah, somebody
then
from
that would be up to you.
Somebody from
We
Alpha.
add that to the county. Do we go for somebody like the RMA that is,
President.
represents
Yeah.
everyone?
Yeah.
Or another city position?
Yeah, that sounds.
That would be up to y'all to decide.
Community
We
awards.
just have this vacant position that text dot is okay with relinquishing to go to another position. If we did do a 5-member, I would ask that, and even if we stayed as a 9-member, we could still do this. We could look at giving bylaws, giving you the ability to have someone, an alternate that could come, a voting alternate that could come. It'd have to be voting for us to be able to make quorum.
In
Mayor,
the
if I
bylaws,
may-
you can name the quorum, right?
You can,
You can just say for matters of action, it has to be a
yes, you
minimum
can.
of
It
3
doesn't have to be
people.
majority.
Right.
You can change the
Right.
amount that you need for quorum.
Mayor, if I may,
That's
I'd
also
like to
an
make a motion to appoint a representative from Alpha so we can get the transportation industry
You
represented.
feel comfortable with it?
All right, that's a motion, I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion, a second.
So that's directing staff to amend, to bring to you a future change to the bylaw so that you can then adopt that.
Keep the 9-member,
So we're not changing it.
We're not changing the bylaw.
Well, I think,
We'll need,
We're changing, the representative.
Changing the bylaw to the extent that it would allow a representative from Alpha instead of text dot.
well, we're not changing the bylaws today. We're directing staff to bring that
Yes.
change to you, and it'll have to require a change of the bylaws to change that.
Understood.
is there a motion there? No.
there's a motion and second for the Alpha.
For the Alpha, okay, so there's a motion, a second to, an Alpha representative will be the
It's to
9th member.
direct staff to bring a change to the bylaws for us to
I don't think you need to do
ultimately
that. I think you can just direct staff to change the bylaw to say,
To change the bylaws, we would want to have a public.
Requires a vote.
Put it on the
Public
agenda
hearing.
as, there's nothing in the bylaws that says we have to do it, but I think would be appropriate.
we just changed the bylaw by this vote if we vote for it.
Yeah, but I think what
We right now
Mr. Steinman
changed
is
the
saying is that
constitution
there's
of the board,
there's a
and now we need
process
to go
to-
change
for-
the board.
You need
bring
notice,
back.
yeah.
It's noticed right
Yeah,
here.
there has to be notice, there has to be a
Instant
public
notice.
comment period, all of that.
Oh, there has to be a comment period for that one?
According to public participation procedures, yes, sir.
Okay.
And keep in mind too, and
That's right here,
consent,
Councilman.
and consent by Alpha. They need a consent too.
Yeah, we like to just leave it open to a representative, so it's not, if the president's not available, I mean, they can just send a representative from their group.
No, it has to be a designated person.
It has to be a designated person?
Yeah, they can't just switch every month.
Oh, I see. Okay, then
So
the
they have
president.
to designate somebody.
Okay.
Or the president,
I mean,
yeah.
You could always say it's the president, but they could designate somebody.
Right. As they
so
often do, depending on the.
I
The
just
motion
had
is
mentioned
an
there's a
Alpha representative
possibility.
as stated by them, or as described by them, or
Yes.
identified by them, I guess.
Written notice. give
And
them
part
notice.
of the item was, or an alternate, could it be the president of their association or an alternate?
That's would be 125.
Oh,
I think
okay,
that's
on
what
this
he was
board.
Well, why don't we task staff with figuring out how to best come up with who in Alpha or how in Alpha?
Yeah, so we'll, as we do with any of the organizations, there's somebody that appoints from that position. So we'll make that appropriate change, bring it to you for the bylaws and notice it appropriately. As well, part of this discussion, so that's separate from the next discussion, which is just to help you make quorum more frequently or not.
Okay,
so
shall we vote on
close.
this one first, and then we'll take the other?
I should have been first,
Yeah,
the
look.
5 or the 9-member, and then this one, but I guess we just got a little bit ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Call for the question, Mayor.
Yeah, call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. There was some discussion of 5 or 9, but obviously,
Sounds like there wasn't, well. and
I'll
it's still something-
I'll move to have a 5-member committee as now the new, Laredo Webb County Area Metropolitan Planning Organization.
okay, there's a motion. Okay, I've got an issue with that, but just so you'll know.
Yeah,
but
me
if you're
too.
voting no, yeah. But anyway,
It would negate the
is there a
previous.
second motion? Is there a
Motion.
second?
Well, that's why I said this one should have been first.
Yeah.
Well, I'll second for discussion.
Okay, second for discussion, a discussion? Not heard? Yes. Commissioner?
If we go to 5, then we go back to the alternate idea. Then that's where we can, it has to be, like you said earlier, Mr. Snyder, it has to be to city, to county, and tech dot. So that would kind of push away that motion we just passed. You know, I don't know if that's what the.
We could just, Commissioner Galo is, I think he's right on point on something. We don't, so in order to make quorum, we could just lower the number, right?
Threshold, yeah.
That's why a lot of the Senate committees, I know, they're just not, it's a majority of the members present, which are all the members that are present.
I will withdraw my motion,
I would draw my second.
Withdraw.
as long as we could.
Do you care to make that motion?
I make a motion that we only require 4 to be a quorum.
Again, that's something we'll have to change.
Bring,
by-
yeah, for you all.
Second. We'll look in and make sure that's perfectly fine with how the FHA.
Okay, there's a motion, a second, to reduce the quorum from 5 to 4 for the MPO committee. Discussion? Not heard, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not heard, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Folks, moving on.
Mayor, just wanted to make a comment on behalf of TxDOT. Just so you know, as many of your conversations with Commissioner Salazar, yes, for the record, Humberto Gonzalez.
Hey, hold, we can't hear you.
For the record, Humberto Gonzalez, Director of TPND for TxDOT. Just for the record, I wanted to state, although we are, had decided that the other seat, we were willing to give that up. We want to obviously let everybody know that TxDOT is going to be very involved in the technical committee side aspect of it. So we didn't want to give the false impression that TxDOT was not wanting to be involved in the MPO. We just feel that we best served with one committee member, policy member, and one committee member on the technical committee.
Thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that means a lot to us. And I know that you're very committed, or at least TxDOT is very committed.
We know that. We know y'all are very.
Yeah, I don't think any of us interpreted that.
No, and without your help, I don't know what we could do.
That you were, we didn't think you were giving up on us. Yeah. Although if we look at the FM 1472 debacle, there might be some evidence for that. But for purposes of today, we're gonna let it slide.
We need to move on. Keep it on a positive note. Okay, next,
That's it. Report
that's it, yeah.
presentation.
Status by the RMA, and they gave us a written report here. And I would ask that it be placed as part of the record.
Yes, sir.
And let's see, director's comments? Any
Yes, just quickly, I wanted to keep you updated on a few things. So you saw that contract today for the active transportation plan. That's us working with a consultant to get some data gathering going so that when we hire that active transportation planner and start working on we've already started working on the active transportation plan, but once we get staff that's gonna be focused on that, we have some data gathering already going towards that process. And if we wanna do more things with them, we can, because we have that relationship. We can be flexible and ask them to do some additional things if we need for the active transportation plan for pedestrian, bicycle, and transit facilities, looking at our plan for the region. Also wanted to say that I've been talking with the Valley, I've been talking with El Paso and with San Antonio, and also Utah, because I have some friends there, about taking a few of the members of the policy committee and doing a field trip to look at some of active transportation examples, things that we could do. And I really want to bring you somewhere where it's comparable. We could go to a bigger city, but they have the funds and they have the kind of pedestrian and bicycle demand that may not be similar to us, but we do have a lot. So I want to look at some areas that are similar to us and look at what MPOs are doing and be able to have those conversations. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I'm scheduling this so that we can do it maybe in the next few months.
I'm interested.
Okay, and if anybody else is interested and wants to come and participate in that, what I want to do is have you meet with staff
On fire over here.
so you can see what they do in terms of active transportation, and also look at what they've done with bicycle facilities or fixed route, bus routes, like rapid transit, some of those ideas, just to get you thinking about the projects that we can be putting funding into and emphasis into to help active transportation.
Mr. Gillo, he doesn't know it yet, but he's very interested. And he's gonna go with us.
And I also, and then, next time when you make this director, committee member comments, so we can have everything, because I'd like to just announce that I heard the text dot on the overpass that's gonna go over the railroad tracks now on 35 instead of under,
By Milo, or where is it?
the one by, north of Shiloh,
The shadow
Yeah.
overpass, yes?
By Shiloh, yeah.
that the frontage roads are not included in that levy.
That's correct.
And I think those frontage roads are very important, so what do we do
Yeah.
to move that along, because you know, if we don't have a frontage road, and you're gonna be doing that, I don't know what kind of mess we're gonna have there.
So Mayor, would like me to speak to that?
Yeah, briefly, I guess, since we
Okay.
don't have an agenda item. Well, I guess it's part of the, can we bring back another one? What
Well,
agenda item could,
Just so that we're doing things appropriately, the intent of the director's comment is just to update you on things we're doing briefly, but if we're bringing items where we're having people speak to those, we really should put it
It's
on.
not
the
an
agenda
action
and
item,
notice
it's
it.
fine, you can speak to it, you just can't act on it.
yeah, okay, just briefly,
Okay,
and then we can put an agenda item for the next.
Humberto Gonzalez, TxDOT. Just a quick update. So we are moving forward with the interim condition for that project, which you're correct, does not include the furnished roads. But at this point, as I spoke to Kirby last week, we're in the process of preparing our candidate projects for the 2021 UTP. And the MPO is definitely going to be heavily involved in that. So what we'll do is prepare a list of projects that TxDOT has selected, provide those to the MPO, allow you all to add on your projects that you all feel you would like to be on there and compete for candidate funds. And you'll rank those and we'll submit those up so they can compete. But at this moment, you are correct. Yeah, the project is ending in June. As we've mentioned before at previous meetings, we'll have the overpass main lanes, direct connector number 8, direct connector number 5, and also widen I-35 to 6 lanes in each direction in that area.
Yeah, but I think the commissioner's concern was.
Well, the frontage, do you have an estimate of what those frontage lanes, do you know off the top of your head?
And you
As
said
far
it's
as construction costs?
And you said it's interim, like, in the long run, do y'all plan on having frontage roads?
Yes, correct. The furnished road bridges are on the ultimate plan, ultimate schematic. So those are planned out.
Yeah, it's all planned out, it's very nice, it's gonna give you access under there, I think you're gonna use the below the railroad crossing as the frontage road, right? To cross, for the access going across?
In the interim condition, you have access on the north side of the overpass. You have a turnaround for all the warehouses and all those to operating, take it back circulating. And on the south side of the overpass, you will have access.
No, but I'm just talking about on the frontage roads.
The furnished roads themselves, you will not have access on the furnished roads to cross over the road, right?
Okay.
No, but in the future it goes under that railroad track, no?
The future, you will be going over the railroad. The main lanes and the furnished roads. The furnished roads and the main lanes will all go over the road
Oh.
in the future.
There's a east-west access. Or at least with the schematics I saw, and you saw, they had a road coming, because the one, what is it,
Yes, you're
San Isidro?
San Isidro Parkways.
Yeah.
And then that will be built in the interim condition. You will have connection east to west from San Isidro Parkway underneath the new proposed bridge going over the road.
okay.
That's gonna be built in the interim condition.
That will be built?
Yes, it will
Okay.
be built, yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank
Well, that
you.
helps a lot.
Yeah, any other business for this committee? And if not, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second discussion, and those in favor say aye. Okay. Any opposed? Not heard. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.